The kitchen clock ticked past midnight, its second hand stabbing through the silence like a blade. My laptop screen glowed faintly in the corner of the cluttered dining table, Photoshop open to a half-finished logo. My eyelids burned, my chest tightened. The cursor blinked like it was mocking me. Another night slipping through my fingers. A knock at the front door shattered the stillness. I jolted upright. Who the hell knocks at midnight? The door creaked open, and there she was, Cheryl, my sister. Her cheeks flushed, her hair a tangled mess. Blake followed right behind, smirking like he owned the place. They reeked of cheap pizza and cigarettes. "We've got news," Cheryl blurted, dropping her purse on the counter. Her grin was wide, almost manic. I froze, hand still on my laptop. What news? She grabbed my wrist and tugged me toward the couch. Blake plopped down first, spreading out like it was his throne. Cheryl sat beside him, practically vibrating. "I'm pregnant," she whispered at first, then louder. "Pregnant! Fifth baby!" My stomach lurched. Pregnant. Again. Blake tossed the pizza box onto the table like it was champagne at a party. "Crazy, huh? Guess the family's getting bigger." I forced my lips to curve into something like a smile, but my voice came out flat. "Wow, congrats." Inside, though, a scream was clawing at my throat. Another kid, another mouth to feed, another chain tightening around my ankles. I'd already spent 3 years raising her kids like they were mine. Logan, Ellie, Hunter, and Nora. My 20s had vanished into their doctor's appointments, their field trips, their tantrums, their asthma attacks. And now she was acting like I should clap my hands for round 5? I sat rigid while Cheryl prattled on about baby names and nursery colors. My fork lay untouched beside the half-eaten spaghetti I'd made for the kids hours ago. The smell of cold sauce churned my stomach. Then Cheryl's voice sharpened. "Actually, Alyssa, there's more." I turned my head slowly, bracing for impact. She exchanged a glance with Blake. He leaned back, smug. He said, "We've been talking. You're so good with the kids. Maybe it's time you step up more. You could quit that coffee shop gig. Focus on them full time." I blinked. "Quit my job?" "Yeah," Cheryl said quickly, her voice syrupy sweet. "You'd be amazing. And, well, since you're living here, we thought it's only fair if you chip in for rent. $300 a month. Not much." 300. My chest pounded. I could barely cover my gas and phone bill with the coffee shop wages. And every dime of my savings, the last $3,000 from my failed bakery, was already bleeding into their kids' school supplies and prescriptions. My fork clattered against the plate. I'm already doing everything. Meals, rides, homework. I can't quit my job, Cheryl. She rolled her eyes. "You're eating our food, using our space. You owe us." Blake chimed in, his tone casual, like he was asking me to pass the salt. "It's just temporary, till the baby's here." My blood boiled. Temporary? I'd been their unpaid nanny for 3 years. I shoved back from the table, the chair legs screeching against the linoleum. "I need to think," I muttered, storming down the hall before the rage inside me detonated. In my room, I slammed the door shut and pressed my forehead against the wood, shaking. Betrayal wrapped itself around my ribs like barbed wire. My own sister, my flesh and blood, saw me as nothing more than free labor. The next morning, the chaos began as always. "Logan, turn that down," I shouted over the blast of bass rattling the car. "Ellie stole my Pop-Tart yesterday," he fired back, his voice cracking with teenage fury. "I did not," Ellie shrieked from the back seat, shoving Hunter, who spilled orange juice down the seatbelt. "Dinosaurs are cooler than sharks," Hunter yelled, sticky fingers flailing. And little Nora clung to my arm from her booster seat, whining, "Braid my hair, Auntie, please, please, braid it." By the time I screeched into the school drop-off lane, my temples throbbed like someone was driving nails into them. Work was no reprieve. The coffee shop smelled of scorched milk and exhaustion. A man in a suit snapped his fingers at me. "Make it quick." I wanted to throw the latte in his smug face. Instead, I smiled with dead eyes and pulled another shift for $15 an hour. 6 hours later, I rushed back for school pickup, broke up another fight over who fed the dog last, and cooked spaghetti, while Cheryl slept like a rock on the couch. At midnight, my graphic design class flickered to life on the laptop. My fingers dragged across the keyboard, trying to force creativity through the haze of fatigue. The tutorial played, but my eyelids shut against my will. I jolted awake an hour later to a dead battery and the taste of blood from biting my tongue in my sleep. A week later, the mask finally cracked. Cheryl cornered me in the kitchen while Ellie hunched over homework at the table. "You're not pulling your weight," Cheryl hissed, arms crossed. I whipped around. "Not pulling my weight? I cook, I clean, I raise your kids." "That's not enough," she shot back. "With the baby coming, I need you here, not wasting time on some hobby degree." My throat burned. My design classes aren't a hobby. They're my future. Cheryl laughed, cold and sharp. "Future? You're nothing without us. You live in my house, eat my food. You think you're better than me now?" Ellie froze at the table, her pencil trembling in her hand. Something inside me snapped. I stood tall, my voice cutting through the air. "I'm not your servant, Cheryl. I've given you 3 years of my life, and I'm done." Her face hardened, eyes narrowing into slits. "If you're not all in, maybe you shouldn't be here at all." The silence was so sharp I could hear Ellie's tiny gasp. My chest rose and fell like a storm surge. Cheryl turned on her heel and stormed off, leaving me shaking with fury. Ellie's wide eyes locked on me. I forced a breath, knelt beside her, and whispered, "It's not you. It's never you." But in my gut, I knew the truth. This house wasn't mine. This life wasn't mine. And if I stayed, it would kill me. I started packing in whispers. At 5:10 a.m., the house still smelled like sleep. Laundry musk, last night's spaghetti, Nora's bubblegum shampoo drifting from the hallway. I moved through it like a thief, sliding my sketchbooks into a backpack, rolling t-shirts tight so they'd fit inside a grocery sack. The zipper teeth sounded like tiny betrayals. Logan's door cracked open. He saw the bag first, then my face. "You're leaving," he said, not a question. His voice was low, edged with the kind of anger that comes from understanding way too much at 15. "I'm not leaving from you," I said. "From this, from her." I tilted my head toward Cheryl's closed door. Logan stepped into the light, hoodie half on. "She'll explode," he said. "Then let her," and my hand stopped shaking. We stood there, both of us listening to the house breathe. In the living room, the clock thudded. A car hissed past on wet asphalt outside. Logan swallowed hard. "What about Ellie's recital?" he asked. "I'll be there. And your game, and Nora's braids, Hunter's science project. I'll make it work, but I can't live here and disappear at the same time." He bit his lip and nodded, jaw tight. "Teach me the washer and the inhaler checks for Nora." We padded to the laundry closet. I showed him the measuring cup, how much to pour, which cycle wouldn't eat the towels. He listened like a soldier memorizing a map. Then we checked Nora's inhaler together, rattling the canister, reading the little window with the numbers dropping toward empty. "You're going to be okay," I said. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. By 6 a.m., the house detonated into morning. "Logan, shoes, now!" "Ellie, the permission slip." "Hunter, stop sword fighting with the spatula." "Auntie, braid, braid!" Nora tugged me down, cheeks dewy, breath sweet. I braided fast, tight, a crown around her head. She spun to the mirror and beamed. I kissed the back of her neck and tasted salt. At the curb, the kids piled out, backpacks slamming, doors thumping, 4 little satellites breaking free from gravity. Ellie glanced back. Her eyes asked a question I couldn't answer. I pressed my palm to the window, "Stay brave," and pulled away. The coffee shop hummed like a hive. Milk screamed under the steam wand. Orders barked. My manager dropped a stack of cups and cursed. I cut myself on a receipt spike and didn't feel it till the blood kissed my wrist. In the back, I texted Tara. "I'm doing it. Apartment hunting today." Her reply came fast. "Finally! Need me to run defense?" "Maybe later." At lunch, I ducked into the alley, called a landlord, heard the number, and didn't choke. 1,500. Deposit same. A box with a window and a lock that was mine. My hands steadied. When I got home, Cheryl was awake, wide awake. She waited at the kitchen table, elbows planted, cigarette burning slow in an old mug. Smoke curled like a dirty halo.
Blake leaned against the fridge, arms crossed, hierarchy stamped on his face. "What's this I hear?" Cheryl began, voice too calm. "About you apartment shopping?" I dropped my keys on the counter. The clatter turned every head in the house. Even the dog flinched. "Yes," I said. No shrinking, no apology. "I'm moving out." Cheryl laughed. One ugly, wet bark. "You can't just bail, Alyssa. Not now. Not with the baby." "It's exactly now. I've carried this family for 3 years. You want me to quit my job and pay you rent to be your full-time unpaid mother? No." Blake clicked his tongue. "Ungrateful. You've been crashing here." "I've been raising your kids. And yours, Cheryl," I turned to her. "And when you're here, you sleep. When you're awake, you ask for more. I'm done." Her face hardened, eyes narrowing into slits. "You're not better than me." "I never said I was," I said, softening just a fraction. Because I once knew her laugh before cigarettes, before Blake, before nights that ate mornings. She stood. The chair legs screamed across tile. She moved close enough that I could count the flecks of mascara dried at the tips of her lashes. "If you walk out that door," she whispered, "don't come back." Something in me, something small and starving, finally exhaled. "I won't," I said. "Good. Then get out tonight." I didn't flinch first. Neither did she. Then the dog barked and the spell broke. I packed in plain sight. Ellie drifted into the doorway like smoke, eyes rimmed pink. "Is it because of us?" she whispered. I took her hands. "It's because of me." I let her feel the truth of it in my palm, pulse fast but steady. "I love you. That doesn't stop because my address changes." Hunter hovered behind her with a plastic T-Rex. His mouth was set. "Who's going to find my poster board? Mrs. Keene said no glitter this time." "We'll do it together," I said. "I'll bring the boring glue. You'll hate it."
He cracked a reluctant smile. Nora barreled in and attached herself to my leg. "Sleep here," she pleaded. I crouched, lifted her, breathed her sticky hair. "Not tonight, Peanut, but I'll tell you a story on the phone. The good kind. The one with the dragon who eats broccoli." She giggled in my collarbone. "Dragons don't eat—" She started, then stopped, lip wobbling. I held her until her breathing evened. Logan stood in the hall, a silent pillar. The sun slid off the houses across the street. The living room fell into that blue hour that makes everything look like a memory. I zipped the last bag, slung it over my shoulder, and the zipper sounded like a line snapping. "I'll text you," I told Logan. "Every day. Anything you need." He nodded once. "Go, before she changes the rules." I left the key on the counter, next to a dark ring from Cheryl's mug. The front door was heavier than I remembered. It stuck for a second, then gave. The night air met me like a cold hand to a fevered face. My studio was a shoebox with a window that looked into the neighbor's blinds and a radiator that clanged like a ghost took up residence inside. I set my mattress on the floor, leaned my sketches against the wall, and plugged in the single lamp. Light spread gingerly as if asking permission. I sat, and for the first time in years, the house I was in wasn't demanding anything from me. I slept hard and dreamless. 3 days later, the world tilted. I was cutting proofs for a client, tiny logos lined in neat rows, when my phone lit with an unknown number. "This is Officer Doyle with Madison PD, Mrs. Alyssa Dunn." I stood instinctively, scissors still in my hand. "Yes?" "We need you to meet us at your sister's residence. There's been a report." "A report of what?" "Alleged theft and property damage." I gripped the counter so hard, my knuckles bleached. "That's impossible." "Can you meet us now?" "Yes," I said, "because you go when the police call, even if your name is the last one that should be in their mouths." The drive back swallowed the space I'd carved for myself. Every traffic light turned red at the last second. The knot under my sternum tightened until it felt like a fist. 2 squad cars flanked the curb. Officer Doyle had a clipboard. Officer Reed scanned the street through the kind of sunglasses that make it clear your soul is not invited. Cheryl stood on the porch, in leggings and an oversized shirt, hair scraped up, cheeks flushed like she'd been practicing tears. Blake slouched on the steps, wearing righteous like a cologne. "She stole $500, Cheryl announced before anyone could speak. She pointed at me, finger shaking. "She destroyed the washing machine. She ripped the sofa, too. She's been vindictive since she left." I stared at her. The spinning coin of my heart hit ground. Quiet. "No," I said. "I didn't take a cent. I haven't even been inside since I moved." Officer Doyle nodded toward the door. "We'll take a look." Inside, the house was exactly as I left it, plus the new mess that blooms when no one waters a routine. Dishes smothered the sink, a smell of damp laundry pressed against the walls. The sofa's cushion had a long, tired tear. The washing machine blinked a dead panel. Officer Reed knelt, lifted the cushion edge, exposing an older stain that looked like fossilized grape juice. He ran his finger along the rip. "This seems frayed," he said. "Not a fresh cut." He popped the washer panel with a practiced thumb, found a loose wire and whistled. "This is age, not malice." Cheryl's mouth tightened. "The money was in my dresser." "Do you have proof of cash on hand?" Doyle asked, pen poised. "It was there. She knew. Her gaze hit me like a thrown plate. "She's been bitter for months." "Search me," I said, voice steady. "Search my car, my apartment. I'll give you the address." Doyle studied me. I held his gaze until I saw the flicker. People who lie blink more. I didn't blink. Footsteps creaked down the hall. Logan appeared, white-faced, a storm held together by bones. "Officer," he said, voice low but clear, "can I talk?" Cheryl snapped, "Logan, don't you—" He didn't look at her. He looked at Doyle, then at me. "That rip's been there since last summer. Hunter spilled fake grape soda and kicked it. Mom covered it with a blanket when people came over." Hunter's eyes flashed from the hallway. He hovered, guilty and brave. "The washer," Logan went on, "broke weeks ago 'cause Mom stuffed 2 comforters in. Blake said he'd fix it after his shift." Blake stared at the floor, suddenly fascinated by his shoes. "And the money?" Doyle asked. Logan hesitated, eyes flicking to Cheryl. Something like pity crossed his face and died. "She spent it," he said. "Groceries, gas. She told us not to tell." He swallowed. "And Aunt Alyssa has been paying for our school stuff for months." Cheryl's face cracked. Just a hairline, a fissure of truth letting in air, and then she set her jaw. "You little—" "Ma'am," Doyle cut in, voice cool, steel. "False reports waste time we don't have." He closed the clipboard. "We won't file this, but don't call again unless there's an actual crime." He turned to me. "You're free to go." Air rushed back into my lungs like I'd been underwater all week. On the porch, Logan caught my sleeve. "I couldn't let her do that to you," he said, voice shaking now that the performance was over. I squeezed his shoulder. "You shouldn't have to be the adult." "Someone has to," he said, eyes older than 15 has any right to be. Cheryl stepped out behind us, staring at me with a look I hadn't seen before. Not rage, not triumph. Something emptier. She opened her mouth. "Don't," I said. "Not cruel, just finished. Not today." I headed down the steps. The evening light had gone gold and mean. Doyle climbed into the cruiser. Reed said nothing, but I felt his eyes on the back of my neck, measuring the distance between a lie and a life. My phone buzzed before I reached the car. "Unknown. If you think you're done with this family, you're not. You owe me." I stared at the screen till the letters blurred, then flicked the message away like ash. I was halfway into the driver's seat when my phone lit again. Logan this time. "Don't go far."
The 3 dots pulsed, then stopped. Started again. She's late. She's dizzy. She threw up blood this morning. Blake told her it was nerves, but something's wrong. The world contracted to a point of heat behind my eyes. The porch door slammed. Blake's voice rose. Cheryl answered, a shard of sound that cut off fast. Then my phone rang. Logan again, breathless, loud. "Aunt Alyssa," he said, and I heard the panic blooming behind him. "Mom just collapsed in the hallway." The line didn't drop. The phone slipped in my damp hand. Logan's voice cracked through the speaker. "She's not breathing right." I was already in the car before he finished. The engine roared, tires spitting gravel. Madison blurred into streaks of traffic lights and black asphalt. My heart hammered against the seatbelt. "Call 911, I shouted into the phone. "Now! Logan, stay with her. Keep the kids back." The line filled with noise. Hunter crying. Ellie yelling. Nora's high-pitched wail cutting through like a siren. Logan's breathing ragged in the background. "She's on the floor. Her lips look wrong." I ran a red light. Horns blared behind me, but I didn't slow. By the time I skidded into the driveway, blue lights already painted the siding. 2 paramedics wheeled a gurney up the porch steps. Cheryl lay twisted on the tiles, hair plastered to her forehead with sweat, skin pale as paper. "Ma'am, stand back," one medic barked. "She's my sister," I shot back. The medic gave a curt nod and turned back to Cheryl. Oxygen mask, blood pressure cuff. One of them muttered numbers I didn't understand, but knew were bad. The kids clustered by the couch, a tangle of terror. Blake hovered near the kitchen, hands useless in his pockets, jaw clenched like he might bolt. "Placenta previa," one medic muttered. "She's bleeding internally." "Load her," the other said. They lifted Cheryl's body, limp as a rag doll, onto the gurney. For the first time in years, I saw fear in her eyes. Raw, naked, human. "Alyssa," she whispered, voice muffled behind the mask. "I'm here," I said, though my throat closed on the words. The medics shoved her into the ambulance. Blake started to follow, then stopped. His phone buzzed. He cursed, muttered something about work, and turned away. "Are you serious?" I snapped. "She could die." He didn't even look at me. "Somebody's got to pay the bills." He walked out the back door like the house wasn't burning down around us. At the hospital, antiseptic stung my nose. Logan, Ellie, Hunter, and Nora sat huddled in plastic chairs, eyes huge under the fluorescent hum. Dr. Patel appeared, clipboard pressed to her chest, her face calm but lined.
"She's stable for now," the doctor said, "but the pregnancy is high risk. Bed rest until delivery, 3 months minimum." 3 months? The words slammed into me. Logan looked at me, silent, waiting. Ellie clutched Nora, rocking her like a doll. Hunter whispered dinosaur facts under his breath, like if he stopped, the world would collapse. I felt the weight of their eyes, the unspoken plea. Cheryl's voice echoed in my skull. "The kids need you." I wanted to run. God, I wanted to. To disappear into my shoebox apartment, into my sketchbooks, into the life that was finally mine. But Logan's jaw trembled. Ellie's nails dug crescents into her little sister's arm. Hunter blinked back tears he didn't understand. They weren't the ones who failed. I swallowed hard. "I'll help," I told Dr. Patel. My voice didn't shake, though everything inside me did. But only for the kids, on my terms. Back at the house, the walls reeked of smoke and stale takeout. Cheryl's absence wasn't silence, it was chaos magnified. Dishes rotted in the sink, laundry spread across the hall like an oil spill. Blake was gone. Again. I dropped my bag on the table. "All right," I said, clapping my hands once. "New rules." The kids looked up, wary. Logan, laundry and grocery runs. Ellie, dishes and keeping Hunter's homework on track. Hunter, room cleanup and feeding the dog. Nora, I crouched in front of her,
Your job is brushing your teeth without a fight. Got it? They nodded. Slow at first, then firmer, like soldiers learning their orders. For the next week, I ran double lives. Coffee shop by morning, kids by night. My studio in between, sketches spread across the mattress like confessions I couldn't tell anyone. When Nora cried for her mom, I read her stories until her eyelids fluttered. When Hunter raged about glitter bands, I helped him build a volcano instead. Ellie's recital came. I braided her hair with trembling fingers, cheered until my throat burned, and held her when Cheryl's seat stayed empty. Logan grew quieter, stronger too. He took the grocery list without complaint, but I saw the anger in his shoulders, the way he clenched the cart handle until his knuckles blanched. One night, after Nora was asleep, he cornered me in the kitchen. "She's not coming back, is she?" he said. I froze. "She's trying." "Don't," he snapped. "Don't lie. She's never here, even when she is." I looked at him, really looked at him. His face was half man, half boy, but his eyes were ancient. "You don't deserve this," he said quietly. "Neither do you," I wanted to say, but I just touched his arm. "We'll make it through." Blake's absence grew like mold. He'd drift in late, reeking of beer, mumble about overtime, and then vanish into the garage. One night, Nora cried herself hoarse because he'd promised to come to her school play. "He said he'd be there," she sobbed into my lap. Logan leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "He's checked out. Always has been." I kissed Nora's hair. My fury at Blake coiled like a snake in my gut. By the second month, exhaustion etched itself into my skin, but I clung to the boundaries I'd set. I went home every night, no matter how late, no matter how much the kids begged me to stay. My studio was a sanctuary, a mattress, a lamp, and walls that didn't accuse me. Tara called often. "She'd warned you, you're doing too much again." I told her, "Just 3 months. Then I'm free. Watch Cheryl. She'll lean on you the second she can." I knew she was right, but when Nora's tiny voice asked for a bedtime story, when Ellie handed me a drawing of us together, when Hunter grinned over a glitter-free science project, when Logan's guarded eyes softened for half a second, I couldn't walk away. Not yet. 3 months later, Cheryl came home. The newborn wailed in her arms, a fragile red-faced bundle. She looked thinner, worn down, eyes sunken but still sharp. I helped carry the diaper bag in. The kids crowded around, half awe, half resentment. In the kitchen, I set the bag down and turned to her. My decision was already carved into stone. "I'm out," I said. My voice was calm, almost gentle. "I love the kids, but I can't do this anymore." Cheryl's head snapped up, her eyes narrowed. "You're abandoning us again?" "No," I said. "I'm giving your kids back their mother and giving myself back to me." Her jaw worked, but she said nothing, just turned away, clutching the baby like a shield. I picked up my bag and walked out. The air outside was cool, sharp. My lungs filled like I'd been underwater too long. For once, leaving didn't feel like running. It felt like survival. The key to my studio stuck for a second, then turned with a clean click. I stepped into the hush I'd fought for. Thin walls, a one-eyed radiator, a window that caught a sliver of sun at 4 p.m. I leaned my back to the door and let the quiet rinse me. 2 hours ago, I handed Cheryl her life back. Baby in her arms, pride on her tongue, silence in the places where gratitude should live. The house swallowed me whole for 3 months. I pushed my way out. My phone buzzed against my thigh. "Tara, did you do it?" she asked. "I did it." "How do you feel?" I looked at my mattress on the floor, at the taped-up mood board, at the sketch I'd abandoned the day Cheryl collapsed. "Like I opened a window in a burning room," I said, "and the smoke's finally going somewhere." "Good," Tara said. "Now keep it open." I tossed my bag by the desk and woke my laptop. The startup fan whirred like a small engine finding its rhythm. Emails stacked like dominoes. Clients, class assignments I'd paused but not abandoned, a message from a cafe owner asking about a menu redesign, and a vibe that feels like cinnamon and steel. I smiled despite everything. Cinnamon and steel. I could do that. I worked until the letters blurred and hunger dragged me to the kitchenette. Cold rice, hot pan, a fried egg sliding across the top like a sunrise. I ate standing, the fork clinking against the bowl, and felt foreign relief. Nothing in this room wanted anything from me. The feeling lasted 19 hours. Logan texted the next afternoon, a photo of the baby, eyes squeezed shut, mouth like a button. His name's Milo. Then another, the sink filling with bottles. They're already stacking up. A third, she's sleeping again. I typed, erased, typed again. I'm a call away. You've got this. Make a chart. Split the chores. You're the captain. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared. She asked where you were. I told her you said you were out. She called you selfish. Another pause. Then, I don't think she gets it. She doesn't have to, I wrote. You do. That night I called Ellie. She whispered from the hallway like a spy. He's tiny, she said. He smells like warm bread. Does Mom help? I asked. She says she will tomorrow. I could hear the shrug in her voice. I put Nora to bed. Hunter keeps asking if babies poop more than dogs. We giggled like girls at a sleepover, the private kind of laughter that sounds like oxygen. Hey, Elle, I said, check your mailbox tomorrow. Why? You'll see. I spent the last 20 minutes of my shift sketching a cover, a small girl leading a dragon on a leash past a bakery called Brave Bread. I printed it on the coffee shop's dusty HP and slid it into an envelope with a note. For the best big sister. Love, A. The following week, the quiet in my studio started to sound like potential instead of a test. I took a small branding job for a yoga studio, just a logo and a color palette, the owner paying in 4 neat bills that smelled like wallet and hand sanitizer. 50 became 100, 100 became 5. I learned my favorite sound was a client saying, "We trust your eye." Still, the kids threaded my days like a soft cord that tugged when I moved too far. Tara lived 15 minutes from Cheryl's place and didn't spook easily. She had 2 folding chairs in her trunk and a face that returned stares like mail. When I called and asked, "Will you be their backup?" she didn't hesitate. "I already am, but yes, officially." We made it a system. Tuesdays and Thursdays, Tara swung by with snacks and stubbornness. She sent me photos from the curb. Logan with grocery bags looped up both arms, Ellie in a hoodie too thin for the wind, Hunter mid-lecture, Nora wearing a paper crown. I sent Tara $40 for my tip jar, then 50, and once, after a good week, 70, telling her, "Get them whatever school forgot to." "Does Cheryl know it's from you?" Tara asked. "She doesn't need to," I said. "It's not for her." Cheryl called anyway, once, a withheld number that still managed to sound like her. "You owe me," she said without hello. I sat on the edge of my mattress, eyes on the radiator. "I owe the kids," I said, "and I'm paying them." "You think you're a martyr?" "No," I said, calm as a ledger. "I think I'm done." She hung up so hard the call clicked in my ear. The weeks reshuffled into a new pattern. Work, sleep, check-ins. On Sundays, video calls. I propped my phone against a jar of pencils and watched the 4 faces I knew better than my own map. "Okay, scientist," I'd say to Hunter, "show me the experiment that doesn't involve glitter." He'd stomp off, then return with vinegar and baking soda and the serious air of a man unveiling a patent. "Read me," Nora demanded, thrusting a book so close to the camera I could count the fibers. I made up endings where dragons brushed their teeth and little girls taught mountains to kneel. She'd giggle until she hiccuped. Ellie slided me pages of essay drafts. I circled sentences with my finger on the glass. Don't apologize with your words. Say the thing and make the sentence deserve you. She blinked at that like someone had just opened her skull to the sky. The next week she read a paragraph that made my chest ache, a clean blade through the space where anger lives. Logan was trickier. He leaned out of frame, voice where his face should be. We're fine. I got the laundry rotation down. How's your math? Gross, he said, and then actually asked for help. We split the problem into parts on our screens. I watched him learn to break a wall into bricks and climb. Blake drifted through these calls like weather. Sometimes I heard the garage door, sometimes the clink of bottles, sometimes nothing for days. One Tuesday, he stepped into the frame without seeing me, shirt half tucked, eyes wrong. "Where's my blue charger?" he snapped at no one. Logan watched him go. His mouth went flat like a scar. Is he working? I asked after the door thudded. Depends what you call working, Logan said. By December, the call center let Cheryl go. Too many missed shifts, too many emergencies that sounded like naps when repeated to supervisors. Tara heard it from a neighbor who heard it from Cheryl telling a story where she was the hero and the villains were jealous women who wanted her fired.
2 nights later, Blake packed a duffel. No speech, no apology, just the sound of a zipper and footsteps across the threshold. The door closed and stayed that way. Hunter told me during a video call that the dog slept by the door for a week. He'll get bored, Hunter said, sharper than 9 should be. He always gets bored. On Ellie's birthday, I mailed a sketchbook with thick paper and a note inside the cover. Draw like the page has to hold your whole heart. Don't let it sag. She held it like it was made of icing and glass. I'll fill it, she promised. All of it. You can't save a house from the curb, but you can hold a line. That became my prayer. Tara kept her car pointed at that porch. I kept my phone charged and my work steady, because money had been a leash for too long. The more I earned from personal clients, coffee shops, a tattoo artist who wanted a moth logo with a secret skull, the less I felt Cheryl's gravity pulling at my ankles. One afternoon, an email dropped into my inbox with the subject line, Proposal, Madison Startup. A guy named Evan needed an entire campaign. Logo, website refresh, social graphics, the works. The meeting was in a co-working space that smelled like ambition and stale kombucha. I wore the only blazer I owned and brought mock-ups and a spine. Evan clicked through my deck, nodding. Your lines are clean, he said, like he was tasting them. You see the negative space. I've lived in it, I said, before I could stop myself. He smiled, surprised. Are you available to start next week? I left with a contract that would cover 2 months' rent and the deposit on a new chair. In the elevator, I pressed my forehead to the cool mirror and laughed once, sharp and unbelieving. The first deposit hit my account on a Friday. I stared at the number until it stopped being symbols and became breath. I texted Tara, sushi on me tonight, and a grocery run for the kids. Already outside, she replied, sending a photo of the porch steps. Logan sat there with Nora asleep against his shoulder, her paper crown askew. Ellie drew on a pad balanced on her knees. Hunter counted cracks in the concrete. The picture looked like a painting titled, Waiting for the Adults. Take them out for burgers, I sent back, then added more money than I could responsibly spare. Get fries, no one argue. At 9 p.m., my phone rang from the parking lot of a chain restaurant. 4 voices shouted at once. Ketchup stained a sleeve. Nora's crown got a French fry stuck in it, and she howled with laughter. Tara's voice came through last, wry and warm. Look at you, she said. Feeding people from a distance. It's the only way I can, I said, and didn't cry. Later, Cheryl called again, this time from her number, not blocking it. The baby mewled in the background. Her breath sounded tired. For a second, something like olive branch hovered. Then,
You think you can buy them? I sat very still. The radiator ticked, cooling. I'm not buying anything, I said. I'm investing in them. You're trying to make me look bad. You're doing that yourself. Silence. The kind that lasted 3 years. When she spoke, her voice was lower, almost young. It's hard. It's harder than I thought. I could have said, I know. I could have said, I did it while you slept. Instead, I said the truth that didn't stab. Then do it anyway. She exhaled. A sound like defeat and relief had a truce. If I need a list for the baby. The ask hid inside the sentence like a mouse in a wall. Text me what Milo needs. Not you. The baby. I heard the line I'd drawn. I kept it. Her text came an hour later. Diapers, wipes, a specific cream that sounded like a spell. I sent a digital gift card large enough to cover exactly that, and not a cent more. For Milo, I wrote in the memo. Congratulations. No thank you arrived. Fine. The gift wasn't for gratitude. The startup project devoured my days. Wireframes, color studies, typography that felt like architecture. I taped drafts across my walls until my studio looked like a detective's room in a crime show. Red thread replaced by washi tape. Evan tinged me with revisions. I pushed back when his changes made the work worse. He respected it and hired me for more. The coffee shop slipped into the rear view until the only thing that smelled like burnt milk was my own ambition when I let it sit too long. One night, after turning in a set of social assets that made the product look better than it was, I rolled my chair back, stretched, and saw the room differently. The corners weren't empty. They were waiting. My life didn't feel like triage anymore. It felt like design. My phone lit up with a photo. Ellie's sketchbook, first page filled. A girl with hair like storm clouds held a leash attached to a dragon shaped like smoke. The title at the top in careful block letters, Teach Mountains to Kneel. You told me not to apologize with my words, so I didn't, she had written under it. I stared until the drawing doubled. When I blinked the water away, another message waited. Logan this time. We're okay tonight. I made dinner. Hunter only spilled once. Nora's crown broke, but I fixed it with tape. Mom's asleep. Milo's loud. It's okay. Okay didn't sound like surrender tonight. It sounded like a floor finally poured level. I closed my laptop and crossed the room to the window. Somewhere across town, a kitchen light would be on and Logan would be rinsing plates while Ellie set them to dry. Hunter would list dinosaurs until sleep caught him mid-velociraptor. Nora would kick off her blanket and burrow under a stuffed bear's heavy paw. Milo would lift the air with his need and then quiet again. Cheryl would dream of what she'd lost or what she could still build. Tara would be somewhere nearby, hands on the wheel, watching for the porch light. I set my palm to the cold glass. The city breathed around me. For the first time in a long time, so did I.
The email subject line was a siren, scope creep/urgent. Evan's message stacked requests like sandbags, double the landing pages, new feature illustrations, and explainer video, if possible, all needed by Monday because their demo had been moved up. I checked the calendar. It was Thursday. My chest did that tight drumbeat that used to mean panic and now meant math. Hours, assets, sleep. What breaks first? My phone vibrated before I could reply. Cheryl. I watched it buzz on the desk. It buzzed again. I answered. Her voice was brittle. They cut my benefits, she said. No greeting. Unemployment said something about documentation. I'm appealing. But rent's due. I need $600. There it was, the old hook with a new bait. I can't, I said. You won't, she snapped. Milo wailed somewhere near her shoulder, a newborn siren in miniature. You leave, then you judge. You have money now. Tara's been buying them things. Don't think I don't know. I'm not discussing Tara, I said. Text me a list for Milo. Essentials only. I'll send those. I need rent, Alyssa. You need a plan, I said. Ask your landlord for a payment schedule. Call the county aid office. Talk to your supervisor about a rehire track. I will not fund the gap between crisis and the same choices. Silence. Not empty. Pressurized. You love control, she said finally. You always have. I love boundaries, I said, and the kid I used to be who never had them. The line went dead. I stared at the ceiling until the light fixture blurred. Then I wrote back to Evan, crisp and clear. Happy to expand the scope, attaching a revised estimate and timeline. New delivery Tuesday, rush fee attached. I hit send and braced. He called within minutes. Tuesday? We demo Monday morning. I can deliver hero graphics and one landing by Sunday night. Video and the rest Tuesday, or we trim the ask now. Your call. He exhaled into the phone, a long hiss. Fine. Send me the revised scope. Don't make me look stupid. I hired you not to, I said. After the call, I pushed my chair back and stood. The room sloshed with adrenaline. I put on shoes and walked the block twice, then 3 times, counting cracks, negotiating with the air. When I came back, I could see the work again instead of the deadline. At 6, Tara texted a photo from the porch. Everyone alive, everyone loud. Ellie held Milo like the world had shifted to fit her arms. Hunter wore oven mitts for no reason. Logan flashed a slantwise grin that said we didn't drown today. I typed, proud of you, Captain, and sent Tara 40 for pizza. At 10, I was sketching the last hero graphic when Logan called. We're okay, he said. His voice had a smallness I didn't hear often. Just, Mom's in a mood. What happened? He hesitated. She says you're trying to take us. She told the neighbor you're building a case to get custody. He half laughed, no humor in it. She said you think I'm unfit. That's not true. I know, he said quickly. But Mrs. Kent, you know, the one with the orange cat, she said Mom was asking about visitation, like legal stuff. I told her she was being dramatic, but he trailed off. In the background, Milo hiccuped. Nora shushed him like a tiny librarian. This was the accusation then. Not theft this time, not a broken washer, something bigger, uglier, weaponized fear. Logan, I said carefully, you live with your mother. That isn't changing. I will never take you from her. But if she starts saying that outside the house, we need facts, dates, what's said by whom. So, document? He said, picking up the shape of the thing. Yes, I said. A notebook by the microwave, not for gossip, for truth. Time, what happened, who was there. If anyone ever asks, you show that, not your feelings. Understood? He was quiet for a beat. I could do that. And, I added, the word heavy, if Mom says anything to you about me that makes you feel like you have to choose, you don't. You choose you. School, sleep, food. That's your side. He exhaled. Okay. I hung up and called Tara. She's floating custody rumors. I heard, Tara said. Wind hissed through her cracked window. She was already in the car. I'll do a drive-by. Not to engage, just to be seen. Visible, not volatile, I said. Your favorite mantra, she said, and hung up. I worked past midnight. The city thinned to trucks and sirens, then just the metallic tick of my radiator. At 2, I exported files that looked like confidence and sent them to Evan with a line that might as well have been a boundary taped to the deliverable. Next batch, Sunday by 9 p.m. I fell into sleep so hard it felt like falling through concrete. Saturday morning, I woke to 4 texts stacked like dominoes. Cheryl, you're poison. Stay away from my kids. Unknown, but not unknown. If you call CPS, I will ruin you. Tara, we're fine. She's performing for the windows.
Logan, Ellie's recital is Sunday at 7. Will you come? My throat tightened. Sunday. The same night as Evan's deadline. I answered Logan first. I'll be there. In the aisle, second to last row. Text me where you sit. Then Evan. Confirming Sunday 9 p.m. delivery. He replied with a thumbs up and a calendar invite. I looked at the wall clock. 42 hours to carve a path between two promises and not break either. I built the day like scaffolding. Sketch, break, layout, export. Timer set in 25-minute bites. Between blocks, I washed a bowl. I stretched. I texted Nora a dragon emoji, and she sent back 6 crowns. I answered an email client with a template that saved me 40 seconds and maybe a year of my life. By late afternoon, the first landing page looked like a thing I'd follow into battle. Evan called to nitpick a button color. I said no and gave him 2 other wins. Negotiation is choreography. You both have to believe the other can dance. At 6, Tara called. Update, she said. Cheryl told Mrs. Kent you threatened the kids with documentation. I laughed, actually laughed. We're keeping a household journal for precisely this reason. I know, Mrs. Kent knows, but rumor prefers gasoline. Want me to go in? No, I said, the word tasting like restraint. She wants a fight. We'll give her a mirror. Copy that. Mirror it is, Tara said. Sunday came with that too clean sky but makes you suspect the world's about to add a plot twist. At noon, Evan asked for one tiny ad, a pricing comparison section that wasn't tiny. I quoted him an additional hour. He grumbled and agreed. At 4, I showered, put on a black dress that didn't beg for approval, and packed my laptop like a talisman. I exported what I could. My clock said 6:12 when I parked outside the auditorium. Parents streamed in carrying flowers, expectations rustling like tissue paper. I slid into the aisle seat, opened my laptop, and tethered to my phone. The glow lit my fingers blue. I could work in the dark. I'd built a life in the dark. The stage housed a forest of music stands. Kids tuned in nervous clusters, sounds clanging like a drawer of forks. Ellie stood 3rd row, left, hair braided back, eyes scanning. She saw me. Her mouth made the smallest shape. Oh. She lifted her hand like a bird thinking about flight, then anchored it back to her bow. The house lights softened. The director talked about dedication and teamwork. I sent Evan the hero graphics with a note. Next batch, before 9. At a recital. We'll deliver on time. 3 dots pulsed, then vanished. Good. Music rose. It wasn't smooth. It was brave. A section squeaked, another overcorrected. Ellie held her line like a tightrope. My chest constricted with a pride that surprised me with its sharpness. Halfway through the second piece, my phone buzzed. Cheryl. I silenced it. She called again. And again. I texted Tara. She's blowing up my phone. Tara. Here, in the back. If she shows, I'm a wall. During the applause, I ducked behind a pillar and answered, What? I kept my voice a thread. You heard you're here to take them, Cheryl hissed. Skipping greetings, logic, gravity. You think showing up makes you the hero? I'm their mother. I'm here to watch Ellie play Vivaldi. Hang up, Cheryl. You called CPS. I know you did. Her breath rasped. She smelled ghosts and called them facts. I didn't, I said. But keep threatening me on record, and I'll consider my options. Silence. Not empty, pressurized. You love control, she said finally. You always have. I love boundaries, I said, and the kid I used to be who never had them. Back in my seat, the final piece began. Ellie's bow arm moved like decision. The notes climbed something I couldn't see and planted a flag. When the recital ended, the auditorium exploded into hugs and flowers and damp eyes. I elbowed through bodies to the 3rd row. Ellie saw me and launched. I caught her mid-air, careful of the violin. You came, she said into my shoulder. Of course, I said. I pressed a tiny bouquet in her hand, 3 cheap daisies wrapped like a promise. You were strong. She smiled. It was all light.
Her smile was all light.
We played the hard part right. You did, I said. You did. Logan shifted behind her, carrying Nora on his hip. Hunter waved his program like a victory flag. For a minute, life was just this. Music air still buzzing. A kid flushed with having done a brave thing. A hallway filled with parents trying. Then my watch vibrated. 8:11. Go, Logan said, reading my eyes. Deadline. I'll send dinner money, I started. He shook his head. We made pasta. It's fine. He smirked. No glitter. I laughed, kissed Ellie's hair, squeezed Nora's foot, and stepped backward, out of their light, toward the door. Text when you're home, I called. Journal by the microwave. Got it, Logan said. I ran to the car, opened the laptop before the engine, tethered, exported. The screen filled with progress bars that always feel like mercy and threat. I typed until my hands cramped, adjusted margins, renamed files like prayer. Final.v8. At 8:57, I dragged the last asset into the shared folder and hit send. My body sagged. I looked up. The lot was almost empty. A moth beat itself stupid against the parking light. Evan replied at 9:03. Looks great. You're a lifesaver. A second later, next week we might... I closed the email. Not tonight.
On the drive back, my phone pinged once more. A photo from Logan. The kitchen table, 4 bowls, a jar of sauce, paper crowns. Ellie's flowers in a water glass. Under it, the notebook I recognized, wide-ruled blue lines, with today's date in a single sentence in Logan's neat block letters. Ellie played Vivaldi. Mom called Alyssa during the show. Tara was there. We ate pasta. Facts. Time-stamped. A family writing itself down. I parked outside my building and sat for a minute in the idling dark. The night smelled like hot brakes and cut grass. I put my forehead on the steering wheel and let the relief tremble through me. My phone vibrated one last time. A new message from Cheryl. You won't always win. I typed, I'm not playing. I didn't hit send. I didn't need to. I locked the screen, climbed the stairs, and opened my door into the quiet I'd poured like concrete. Still wet, still curing. Strong enough, if I let it set, to hold. The morning started with light like clean paper. My window caught it and poured it across the floor, a rectangle I could have stepped into and vanished. I brewed coffee and read the quiet the way some people read horoscopes, looking for signs. The radiator didn't clang. The hallway didn't carry anyone else's footsteps. If peace had a temperature, it would be this. My phone vibrated. Not a buzz, a tremor. Logan. We need you, he wrote. Then another message. Now. I didn't ask questions. Shoes, keys, laptop. The stairwell smelled like dust and oranges. I took the steps 2 at a time and drove with the window cracked, like I could siphon calm from the air and pour it into whoever needed it. Cheryl Street was bright. Too bright. The house wore the hungover look of places that have heard yelling and pretend they haven't. Tara's car idled at the curb. She leaned against the hood, arms folded, jaw set. What happened? I asked, closing my door. Blake came back last night, because of course he did. My mouth went dry. Is he inside? Was. Left before dawn. Dumped his bags, stirred up dust, promised miracles, demanded breakfast, told Logan to man up. She rolled her eyes. And took the cash Cheryl keeps in a soap box. She found the box empty. She's tearing the place apart, blaming everyone but the thief. And the kids? In their rooms, listening, learning new wrong things, Tara said. Logan texted you because Cheryl's saying you orchestrated it. You sent him to steal from her because you want her to fail. I laughed, a short, ugly bark at the audacity of that logic. Okay, I said, feeling the old burn rise and stop this time at a line I could see. We're ending this. Tara's eyes flicked to the porch. With fire or with facts? I said. Daylight. Windows open. We walked in without knocking.
The living room looked like it had yanked its pockets inside out. Cushions on the floor, drawers open, a laundry basket overturned like a question no one wanted to answer. Cheryl stood in the kitchen, hair wild, breath coming hard, a wooden spoon clenched like a scepter. The baby, Milo, dozed in a swing, oblivious to the weather system in the room. She saw me and stiffened. "Get out." "No," I said, a word that slid into place like a keystone. "Not this time." She sneered. "Here to gloat? He came back for me, for us. He would never." "Then where's your cash? And why do the dog's paws smell like detergent?" The laundry room door stood open. The dog blinked at us, guilty and fluffy. Cheryl's face faltered, then hardened. "You hate me so much. You sent him—" "Stop. I didn't call him. I won't argue about ghosts." Hunter peered around the hall corner, hair sticking up like he'd fought a mattress and lost. Ellie hovered behind him, arms wrapped around herself. Nora's eyes were big and green and wet. "Kids," I called. Gentle. "Couch." They came. Logan last, shoulders squared, chin lifted. He had the notebook tucked under his arm like a shield. Cheryl slammed the spoon on the counter. "Don't you dare." "We're doing this with witnesses," I said. She took a half step toward me. Tara shifted, bare inch into the space between us. That inch was a mile. "Sit," Tara said, to no one and everyone. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Authority walked in with her and found a chair. Cheryl sat. I sat. Tara leaned against the doorway like a bailiff with pretty nails. Logan opened the notebook. Blue lines, today's date. His block letters. Blake returned, took cash box, left 5:47 a.m. He swallowed. "Mom," he said, not looking up. "I saw him put the soapbox into his backpack. I said not to. He said we owed him." Cheryl flinched like he threw the words at him. "You're lying," she snapped. Ellie shook her head. "He did," she said, voice small but steady. "He told me to stop looking at him. He smelled like beer."
Hunter added, quiet. "He said dragons eat money." He wasn't being funny. He was telling the truth the way 9-year-olds do, sideways and exact. Nora, on the couch edge, stuck her thumb in her mouth and said around it, "He threw my crown." Silence again, the kind that shows you what you're made of. "I didn't send him," I said. "Blake is a storm that finds weak roofs. He found yours." I kept my tone even. This is the last time he enters this house and leaves with anything that isn't his. If he shows up again, you call me. You call Tara. You call— I chose the word with care— the police. Cheryl's chest rose and fell. "You don't tell me what to do." "I'm telling the kids what we will do," I said. "Daylight, windows open, no more secrets." I turned to Logan. "You did the right thing writing it down." He nodded, jaw tight. Ellie slid closer to Nora and braided air. Cheryl's eyes went glassy. Not tears, storm. "You think you're so righteous," she hissed. "He loves me. You don't know what it's like to be alone with all this." "I do," I said. "I know exactly what it's like. I did it while you slept. It almost erased me." I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I can help, but not by disappearing. Here are the terms." She laughed, tried to, but the sound broke. "Terms? Like a contract?" "Yes," I said. "Daylight clauses." Tara passed me a pen. I pulled a page from the back of Logan's notebook and wrote, "No Blake in the house. If he arrives, we call for help. Household journal stays by the microwave. Facts, not feelings. Kids' needs first. Lists sent to me or Tara get filled when possible, for the kids, not you. School attendance and bedtime non-negotiable. If you accuse me of crimes or call to threaten, I hang up. Communication about the kids only. If you want help with bills, you meet with a social worker. I'll go with you.
We build a budget together. No cash drop-offs. I slid it across the coffee table. The wood was scarred in a way that suddenly looked like a map of where we'd already been. Cheryl didn't touch the page. You think a list fixes this? I think a list keeps us from drowning in the same water, I said. Sign it or don't. These are my terms. The kids can keep a copy. Tara has one. If you break them, I step back. Not from them, from you. Her eyes flashed. You'd abandon them. I won't, I said, voice low, but I will stop trying to save you while you pull us under. The baby stirred in the swing, making those little goat noises newborns make that always feel like a dare to love anyway. Cheryl looked at Milo, then at the kids, then at me. The spoon on the counter clattered as if a hand let go somewhere. Fine, she said, barely audible. Fine. She picked up the pen like it weighed a pound and scrawled her name at the bottom. It wasn't neat. It didn't need to be. Tara dated it, handed me the page, took a photo with her phone, sent it to me and Logan and Ellie with a subject line like a court docket. House agreement, 10:24 a.m. When it dinged on my phone, something unclenched in my chest I hadn't noticed was clenched for years. The doorbell rang. We all startled. Cheryl wiped her face with the heel of her hand. If that's him? It's not, Tara said, already moving. She opened the door to sunlight and a woman in a city polo with a lanyard. Miss Sharma, Family Services. She held a clipboard and the kind of expression that says, I've seen worse, and I expect better. She had a request for a resource consult, she said, peering past Tara. Is this the Dunn residence? Cheryl blinked. Who called you? I did, Tara said. Resource consult only, not a report. Help exists. We're using it. Cheryl's mouth opened, closed, then, to my surprise, okay, she said. Okay, come in. Miss Sharma stepped into the living room like a breeze that knew what it was doing. She sat at the table, pulled out forms, spoke to Cheryl like she was human and responsible and still allowed to be both tired and in charge. She asked about schedules, benefits, food banks that didn't feel like punishment. She handed Logan a flyer for a youth program that paid small stipends for tutoring younger kids. Ellie got a list of free art classes at the library on Saturdays. Hunter got a brochure about a science club that met after school. Nora received a sticker with a smiling toothbrush. Milo got a voucher for formula. I sat on the couch and watched them all arranged in daylight. No one vanished, no one performed. The only thing breaking was a habit. By noon, Miss Sharma left with a packet of signatures and a promise to return Wednesday. Keep the journal, she said at the door. Truth is boring, and it saved lives. She smiled at Nora. Nice crown. Nora beamed and tipped an imaginary one. Cheryl stood in the entryway, hands empty. Thank you, she said to no one in particular, and everyone at once. The words sounded unused, but they existed. We ate grilled cheese like a ceasefire. I stood at the stove and flipped sandwiches until the pan knew the rhythm of this new piece. Logan did dishes without being asked. Ellie wiped the table in calm loops. Hunter found the dog's leash. Nora declared dragons do eat money, but only when it's flavored like broccoli. When Milo burped milk on my shoulder, Cheryl laughed, a small sound, surprised by itself. I checked my watch. Afternoon slid toward a meeting with Evan about the next phase. For the first time since I'd moved into the studio, I didn't dread his calendar invites. Work felt like a place I could go and not be stolen from. I crouched to Nora's height. I have to head out, I said, but I'll call for bedtime. Dragon story? She asked. With extra broccoli, I promised. Ellie hugged me at the door, long and fierce. You smell like toast, she said into my shirt. Accurate, I said. Logan followed me to the porch. We stood in the rectangle of shade like we were measuring it for something. He scuffed his sneaker on the concrete. I thought today was going to explode, he said. It still might, I said, but we have a fire extinguisher now. He nodded. His mouth flattened, then lifted into the quick half-smile that always reminded me of the boy he'd been and the man he'd whittled himself into. "We're okay," he said. "You're okay," I corrected. "You're the captain, remember?" "Yeah," he said, looking out at the street like it was a horizon and not a trap. Tara leaned against her car and gave me a salute. Daylight had softened the edges of her, or maybe she'd softened the edges of the day. "Text me if Blake breathes within a block," she said. "I will," I said. "And thank you." She shrugged. "I like a good contract." I drove back through a city that looked new, not because anyone replaced it, but because we'd set terms with it. At the studio, I opened the window and let the air in, sat at my desk and opened Evan's brief. I worked for 2 hours straight and didn't check my phone once. When I did, it held 3 messages. Ellie's photo of Nora drawing a dragon with $1 in its mouth, Hunter announcing the dog finally accepted the leash like a gentleman, and a group text from Tara with a screenshot, house agreement pinned to the family chat. At 6, I closed the laptop and stood at the window just as the sun slipped behind an apartment building 2 over. The sky turned that evening blue that makes everything honest. My phone rang. Cheryl. I answered and listened for the weather in her voice. She said, "Miss Sharma said the relief office can backdate a voucher, and the church program has a pantry that isn't embarrassing." She cleared her cloth. "Also, Ellie has art class Saturday. Can you? I'll take her." Silence hummed. Then, "Thank you." I let the quiet stand. We didn't rush to fill it with old habits. "Good night, Cheryl." "Good night," she said, and hung up. I laughed once, stunned, strangled, free. Then I called the kids for bedtime and made up a story about a dragon who ate broccoli-flavored dollars and grew strong enough to guard a small bakery at the edge of a city. The baker made bread that tasted like courage. The dragon slept by the oven and kept the fire honest. After the story, I told Ellie I'd bring pencils Saturday, the soft kind that hide in resin reveal. I told Hunter vinegar is a better lava than glitter, but he could test both and journal which one cleaned up easier. I told Nora that crowns can be made of paper, tape, or how you walk into rooms. I told Logan that captains don't keep ships from storms, they keep storms from steering. When the calls ended, the studio fell into that ready quiet again. I took the contract copy from my bag and taped it above my desk, next to the mood board. It looked right there. Between colors and typefaces, obligations and dreams, terms and conditions, daylight clauses. I sharpened a pencil. I drew. Not for a client this time. For me. Lines that knew where they were going. Negative space I chose on purpose. A life that wasn't summary or apology. Direct, present, built in full sentences.